Hello and welcome to the Mile Burners Exploring Portugal. We started by flying into Madrid, Spain, a place we've been many times over the years, so we'll save talking about that for another video. But if you only have time for one meal while you're in Madrid, we would highly recommend the Mercado de San Miguel. It's a place that has everything and will not disappoint. To get to Lisbon, we rented a car from Madrid and drove for about 6 hours. We love driving, and this was an easy trip. There's so many interesting things to see along the way. Even the billboards are interesting. And of course, we stopped at a halfway point for lunch, which turned out to be a Mexican restaurant. The food was delicious, and all the desserts on the day that we were there came in these little glass jars. It was sort of like a deconstructed cheesecake. And we did buy more food for the car because I am always hungry.
We are approaching Lisbon, going over the Ponte de la Gama. Maybe Margaret can
Ponte Vasco
Oh, Ponte Vasco
da Gama.
The first thing we noticed about Lisbon was the architecture. The buildings are stunning, and as you're driving through, you'll see examples of the tile, which is everywhere, and all of Portugal is known for their tile. We would also recommend getting the smallest car that you possibly can because, especially in the old part of the city, the streets are narrow and the parking, this was underneath our hotel, was very tricky and a little stressful. This was the street view of our room. You'll get a glimpse of how narrow the road was. And on our first night, we sought out a hotel where we could watch the start of the sunset. From there, we went to our first meal in Lisbon, which was bacalhau, a typical meal made of cod. The following morning, we started exploring by getting on the ubiquitous yellow tram, which we picked up right below where we watched the sunset the previous evening. And here you can see some of the unique designs that carry into the walkways. The next stop on our bucket list of Lisbon was to sample the pastéis de Belém, which is a custard pastry invented by the monastery next to the Belém Tower. And I'm pretty sure the required amount of sampling is at least 2 per person. They were delicious. We recently found a duplicate at Trader Joe's, although we have not tried them yet. After walking around for a bit, we were lucky enough to have the mother of a friend give us a tour of a fish market close to Lisbon. And that prepared us for our evening meal. Sardines are big in Lisbon. We found a local eatery near our hotel that had this sardine can wall. The food was delicious, and we enjoy getting the English menu because you often see things like this moisty rice. From Lisbon, we headed south to see the Algarve.
We're heading to our hotel.
All of our accommodations for this trip were made while driving on bookings.com. We chose the town of Burgau because it was a little off the beaten track, and we spent a lot of time staring at this tree, so if anyone knows what it is, please let us know. Burgau was a really great walking town. We found our room to be very close to the ocean. The roads, once again, were narrow. This is actually a road that goes along the beach. But we really enjoyed our time here. The food, again, was delicious, and we walked all over the place. It was a lot more fun to walk than to drive. Here was a meal of sardines, and if you're wondering, yes, we did like them. Everything we ordered in this town was good. This was a fish stew, also along the water, and this was, we were told, a typical Portuguese dessert. There were many beautiful flowers in bloom while we were visiting, and the crescent-shaped beach was sunny, but not too warm and not too crowded. There was also a man selling treats out of his truck while we were there, so of course we got in line, and they turned out to be these delicious donuts. Burgau is on the western edge of the Algarve. It is smaller and slightly less congested than some of the other towns. But it has these great walking paths that go up through the cliffs and just give these amazing views of the entire city. When we left Burgau, we did do a quick driving tour of the rest of the Algarve. Lagos, I think, is one of the more popular cities, and each one seemed to have their own personality. And then we headed back north to Lisbon. There were many things on our first few nights that we didn't get to do, so we circled back through the town, did a lot more of a walking tour, tried to experience some fado. We actually came across some during the day. There were some local people watching, and it felt very authentic, although I feel like the real fado happens late at night. Thank goodness for all of the walking, and we actually appreciated all the stairs and the hills in Lisbon because, as you may have guessed, we had a lot of calories to burn off, especially after being there for a few days. On our final night, we had one last fish dish. I believe this was another form of bacalhau, the salted cod, served with potatoes and croutons. We also shared a suckling pig, which was a specialty on the menu. And then we enjoyed one last night on the town. While some of the hallways had a corporate feel, our hotel was dedicated to the writer and poet Fernando Pessoa. There were many quiet rooms to wander around and learn about his life, as well as to see books and photographs and examples of his poetry, as well as his distinctive glasses. I don't know if this is actually his typewriter, but I just love old typewriters. The hotel also has a beautiful rooftop terrace to have a coffee or a meal and enjoy the morning before you take off for the day. This museum is a very short walk from the hotel, and it's a pretty area to walk around. There are love locks on the wall, similar to the bridge in Paris, and it was just a beautiful day to take a final walk before leaving.
Well, we're heading out from Portugal. We had an amazing time. I should say we're heading out from Lisbon. We had an amazing time. It's an incredible city. So much to see, so much to do. Amazing food, friendly people. Just a great place to be. And we will definitely be back. I hope you enjoyed our little video tour and photographs and various write write-ups about everything we saw and that we did, and we'll see you back in Lisbon.